Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today is the Scorpio 2 Decan video. As usual, going to get in and change these cards around, take a look at the new Decan that's upon us and the new energies and all the wonderful things that are coming forward. But as usual, I like to spend a little bit of time recapping. So these were the cards of the Decan that just ended, and we were spending the time with the Tower, the Death, and the Five of Cups. So nothing crazy happened. Um, I was honestly, I was worried about this Decan with these cards. Nothing really significant came forward in my life. There was a little bit of situations here and there, but they kind of tended to be other people's stuff and more of me just seeing it or watching it as opposed to it happening to me. The only way that I can explain this is I don't know if anybody else out there has been following along with this, but I've been watching the Delphi murders court case. And I think that's what like a lot of this pertained to. This court started um I think we're on day 13. So it started like right during the beginning of this Decan pretty much, and it's still ongoing, and it's very sad. It's very sad. It's like all these cards make sense. So I think that that's what this kind of pertains to is I've been really quite keeping up on the court videos and watching what's happening and how it's unfolding. I'm really into murder mysteries and like court stuff and all that stuff. So it's been very intriguing to me to say the least. But like obviously really really sad and tragic at the same time, and it's just really it's really interesting, and I can't figure out if who they think is the murderer is the murderer. I haven't really quite decided that yet, but like I said, we're on day 13 and it is now time for the defense to step up and to plead their side of the case. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. But I think that that's what this pertains to because that's what's been going on. It's been really, really busy here. Business has been awesome. So I really only get a little bit of quiet time for myself in the morning and at night. And in the mornings, while I've been having my tea before I start to get ready for customers, clients, students, whoever's coming in to come in, I've been watching these court cases, right? So I think that that's what this pertains to because if I was to pick anything that like these cards encompass, I feel like it would be that for me because nothing else really has happened at this point that pertain to these cards really, but that whole entire situation is definitely like encompasses the energy of these three cards. So I think that's what it pertains to. Now let's get in here and let's switch out these cards. As usual, I've already done a couple, but we're going to switch these ones out and we're going to see what the new Decan is and the energies that are coming forward with this new Decan. And I'm excited for it. I'm really excited. Oops, I got rid of the death card. Let me go grab that one back. He stays with us. All right. Here we go. Grabbed him back. Okay, and I always try to keep my stuff straight, but like when I rewatch the videos, they're always so crooked and all over the place. So I'm sorry about that. I try my best, but it's not an easy task to keep cards, straight and level. All right, now we are looking at the Six of Cups with the Sun and the Death card. We are still in Scorpio. It is a water sign and it is a fixed element. And then here's our Hermetic Tarot. So we've got the Sun, who we've seen in the past, with the Six of Cups, which is Lord of Pleasure, and the Death card, which is Child of Great Transformers. We've seen this one as well, too. We saw it in the last video, but I feel like we've already seen it a couple times in other Decans. I might be wrong, but I might just be thinking about, because we just did a video on it with the Scorpion one. Scorpio one. And then our planetary influence is the sun. So we have like double sun happening, which is crazy. I love it. I love everything about it. I could use some of that bright, beautiful sun energy. And then these over here aren't changing. We're still with them for another decan. Next decan, some of these will be changing, but for right now, we're still here on this with these guys. All right, now I like the energy, but I feel like there's still a little bit of the unknown coming forward for me with the death card. But I do like the energy. It is a heck of a lot better than the cards that we just got rid of. So we'll see. All right, and as usual, I'll get into Susan's book and read a little bit about this, and then we'll kind of read about the new cards and what's going on with them. So once again, we are following along with the 36 Secrets by T. Susan Chang. And I just like to get in here and read a little bit. Obviously, like I always say, I leave stuff for you guys to discover in this book on your own. I do not read the full chapter. The Six of Cups brings together the Lord of the Fire of the World and the Lord of the Gates of Death, the Sun and Death, both on horseback. Here is the starkest of contrasts, the life-giving, life-sustaining center of existence on one side, and the archetypal force of endings on the other. In the contrast of these two riders, we shall see that neither ever has the last word. Each yields to other perpetually. How does this internal opposition inform what seems at first glance to be a perfectly agreeable scene of childhood innocence? We'll get to that. But first, the comic psychodrama. In a sense, the sun and death are remedies for one another. The sun brings growth and health, expansion and flourishing, clarity, reason. But it also can be egotistical, unflagging, unself-aware, relentless in its forward motion, indiscriminating in its urging, the tireless, from whom death can provide welcome release. The death card offers definitive endings, profound transformations, and rebirth. But it is also the pain of letting go, a cycle ending, loss of control, and fear of the unknown. The sun story is clear in the Pamela Coleman Smith's image. In the sun card, our solar luminary stands high in the sky, radiating over emblems of newness, the child and the sunflowers in full blossom. The red feather of life, which first appears in the Fool card, waves proudly over the child's golden curls. When we shift to the death image, the now beragged red feather droops from death's helmet like a grim trophy of conquest. Beyond the skeletal conqueror, the sun sets between the towers of the moon card, plunging into the shadows and blue water, as if simply by showing his fearsome face, death has invoked the sun's opposite, the moon. Clarity gives way to dimness, reason gives way to lunar realms of illusion. Also, for what it's worth, the moon is in fall in Scorpio's death sign. All right, let's take a look at that. All right, so here we've got the red feather right there in the sun card. And then in the death card, get it to focus, it's hanging from his helmet. Very interesting. I've never even noticed that. And I've obviously noticed the sun setting between the two towers of the moon card. However, now that it's set up with this sun card, it brings a very different feeling. Very interesting. And there's no red feathers on this. Nope. Okay. So we've just got the two red feathers, and then she said like on in the red feather starts out on the Fool card. All right. Well, really interesting to see that. I didn't really notice that. All right. Now, well, I mean, I've noticed the feather, but I I did notice that it was the same feather from the Fool card to the Sun to the Death card. So I thought that that was really quite interesting. So in her book, she also talks about the flowers that exist in these cards. Between the Sun, the Six of Cups, and the Death card, I counted at least 24 flowers. The language of flowers has peaked in Victorian England a few decades before Smith drew her images, but I believe we can nevertheless do some floral decoding on our own. I definitely think the flowers have something to do with everything. I think everything that she drew on these cards are something of some sorts, right? So she talks about first the sunflowers. So in the sun, the sunflowers, needless to say, have been a solar symbol as long as there has been sunflowers and people to observe them turning towards the light. In the death here, the theme is roses, red and white. It is the rose garland maiden in the lower right-hand corner that looks familiar. So her right down here. It's because we met her first in the strength card associated with the son of Leo, ruled by the sun. The child before her also wears red rose garland. In both cases, they represent life, passion, and vitality. And then there is the great white rose on the death's banner. Is it the white rose of York or the mystic rose or something else entirely? Waite declares it signifies life. The Fool, recall, sports not only the sun's red feather, but also the death's white rose. The Six of Cups. Most curious of all, thought are the stylized 5-petal flowers, one per cup. Nowhere else in the deck do we see cut flowers in a vase. Elsewhere, they are garlands or simply growing where they first sprang up. The Six of Cups is the Lord of pleasure, and that is the purpose of the cut flower, to give pleasure at the cost of its own life. Scented and perfect, it causes joy, but it only lasts a day or two. So both joy and mortality are in its message. Speaking of which, it is interesting to contemplate the range of ways the human psyche deals with time passage. Because we think in linear time, there are only two ways to look back and forth. Memory, because only the living can perceive an ending and make a narrative about it. Nostalgia, this subspecies of memory where pain and pleasure of past are mixed. Anticipation and dread, where we look ahead to things we fear or hope for. And most the sense of continuity, where we attempt to transcend death by passing something on, children, art, love itself. Giving of ourselves isn't just the way we evade death, it is a necessary precondition for rebirth. And then we'll skip forward and we'll go to the part, the everyday Six of Cups. Of all the numbered cards, I draw sixes the least frequently. I draw aces the most. When I see the Six of Cups, it seems to comment on family matters, taking care of my kids when they were sick, solving my kids' little problems, sharing their Christmas excitement, feeling nostalgic about them while looking through pictures, etc., etc. It also came up repeatedly during my father's illness and time in hospice care, as my sister and I attended him and thought back to our own childhoods. It shows up less personally sometimes when I'm just working with photographs or images from the past, or when I'm involved in exchange of gifts. I got it the first time I decorated my porch with flowers and hanging baskets, which has become a summer tradition. The Six of Cups knew. Someday, I realize, I will look back at this time in my life and feel nostalgic for those summer flowers on the porch and a little bit of effort to brighten my life that they represented. When you draw the Six of Cups, you might find yourself reflecting on your own earlier days. You might find yourself considering your role as someone's parent and as someone's child. And yes, you might get hit with a dose of nostalgia. Whether the experience is sweet, bittersweet, or painful, try to accept the moment for what it is without holding on too tight. What is precious is transient, and what is transient is precious. In emotional as well as material currency, the measure of your wealth is not what you can hold on to, but what you can give away. And then she has the little poem that she puts with it. Well, that's quite honestly all very beautiful. And yeah, like I don't know. We'll see what happens and what's coming forward. I do feel like the whole like the reminiscing and like the childhood thing. So my younger brother's birthday is November 1st, and so obviously Halloween night was always a big to do and was usually his birthday party and all that stuff. So Halloween night, my mom always posts like pictures from the past and reminisces about the old days when everybody would get into costumes and gather at her house and whatnot. So this is already starting to come through. And then this year is my brother's 40th birthday. So there's a big celebration for that for him. And it's just the coming together of everybody again. So I can see how this is already coming through. But I do feel there's other aspects as well that's coming forward. Um, my husband is taking me to a place that we have gone to for very many, many years and we really enjoy, and we're going to go there for lunch and just kind of walk around the property and spend the day. But like I said, there's nostalgia in it because it's something that we've done for a long, long time, many, many years. And I've done it with my mom and dad and like my family too, right? So it's kind of like been a tradition that's been passed on. And we tend to do it this time of year all the time. So I'm already seeing how this is coming forward. And I like the way it feels. It feels pretty good. But at the same time, I feel like the death card's coming in because it's bittersweet. Like everybody's growing apart, everybody's life has changed. It's hard for us to get together when it was so easy in the past for us to come together. It's more difficult nowadays for us to come together. And there's different obstacles and things in the way. And I feel like there's quite a bit of change that has happened there. And so, I can see how this is all coming in. It all makes sense to me. All right, so we still are looking at our under other currents of the Decan. We still have the Ace of Cups, which is that beautiful blessings. We have that Page of Cups character, that young, youthful, quirky energy, and we have the Knight of Cups, which is that beautiful, romantic. I always think of him as like Prince Charming. And then down here is our Hermetic Tarot cards that are the same. Now, let's take a look at the Sun and this Sun, so double Sun, so this Sun, the planetary Sun, this Sun, and then the Six of Cups and Death. Now, I'm not going to read the Death card because we just read it in the last video, but we are going to get into here and check out these. Let's do the planetary Sun first. All right, the sun is the center around which all revolves. It is life force, vitality, and identity. It radiates, shines, and pours its energy in a way impossible to ignore. The ultimate fire, it represents will, creativity, and a healthy ego. All right, so that's the planetary influence. I'm not going to read over these up here at the top. If you want to know more about that, if you haven't been following along, you can go back to the previous video that we just did, and we go over all those in that one as well too. All right, now let's look at the Hermetic Tarot. We've read about the sun in the past, but I will reread about the sun because we haven't seen it in a little bit. All right, the sun, lord of the fire of the world. Beneath the fiery sun, two children dance wildly, and roses appear between them and behind each of them. The rose represents the flowering of the solar influence. The dancing sirens are young, shameless, and innocent. The sun and its heat are a beneficial source of life and the melter of waxen wings of ambition and curiosity. The sun radiates upon the children, and then it goes into its meanings in reverse and all of that. So let's get up close here. We've seen it in the past, but we'll take a look at it anyways because it is a beautiful card. I like the way the sun's drawn. I think it's really neat. And once again, we have that theme of roses happening, right? So in the RW, it's sunflowers. In the Hermetic Tarot, there's roses, just the same as the Death card, which is really quite interesting. And I actually find the flowers of the Hermetic Tarot Six of Cups to be very similar to the flowers in the RW. But let's get into read about the Six of Cups. Okay, so Six of Cups, Lord of Pleasure. 6 flowers rise up in the center of the card, and each flower bends over a different cup. The stems of the flowers are haphazardly intertwined. A hand grasps all stems and the 4 large leaves. From each flower, glistening water flows into the cups, yet the cups are never full. Above and below are the symbols of the sun and Scorpio. Interesting. Okay, so let's see that. So there you go. There's the hand holding the stems and the leaves, and then they're all flowing into the cups. But I find that these flowers remind me of the flowers in the Six of Cups. How they're kind of almost a similar shape, but these are obviously a more simplified version and aren't as detailed. Okay, and then like I said, I'm not going to reread Death because we just read it. And these have stayed the same. So that's kind of where we're at. This is the new Decan that we are in right now. I feel good about it, but I do think it's going to have a little bit of bittersweetness to it, right? A little bit of reminiscing and remembering and, you know, longing for maybe the past and longing for what has, you know, is long gone. I know myself, I've been spending time reflecting and just kind of thinking about more things that I could have done in my life and more things that more adventures I could have taken, I guess you would say. And that comes up into my mind often. So we'll see what happens. But I also feel like the death card, like if you're in the northern hemisphere, everything right now is dying. All the plants, like all the leaves off the tree, everything's changing and going into hibernation mode and and dying, right? I mean, obviously the plants are still alive, but it is a symbolism of death, right? So which we will then get that rebirth as well too. So I think it's really interesting that the death card is in this particular Decan because we are definitely dealing with the season of death, right? Where fall, everything's dying and retreating and going into hibernation mode for the winter. But yeah, so there we have it. Now this Decan lasts. So this Decan lasts from November 3rd to November 12th. So I will see you guys in the next video for November 13th, and we'll be looking at the Seven of Cups. But for right now, and we'll be changing out too, I guess I should say, we'll be changing out from the Knight or Prince of Cups to the King or Knight of Wands, depending on what system you're looking at. But let's not confuse that. So we're taking the Knight of Cups and we're replacing it with the King of Wands. So that energy was about to change for the last half of this Decan. For right now, though, we are in Six of Cups energy. So I hope everybody out there has a wonderful Decan. I hope you have many beautiful memories and wonderful nostalgic things from the past come forward. And hopefully we get that nice dose of double sun and it's just good energy and it comes forward and it's the positive aspects of sun and not the negative aspects of sun, right? All right. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Get out there and enjoy the beautiful weather while we have it.